Hey all, welcome to this week's Unreal Engine News and Community Spotlight. Witnessing the success of 3-lateral and cubic motion motivated Korea-based creative studio Giant Step to create a digital human of their own. In our write-up, discover how Giant Step used real-time rendering, machine learning, and Unreal Engine to introduce the world to their new photorealistic digital human Vincent. Meet him for yourself on our blog. On the heels of Samurai Showdown's successful launch to PS4 and Xbox, and with even more platforms on the way, we spoke with art and game director Nobuyuki Kuroki to see how SNK crafted a fighting game that not only appeals to hardcore enthusiasts, but also feels modern and accessible to newcomers. In our discussion, Kuroki reflects on the pressures of making a new addition to the long-running Samurai Showdown franchise, how they leveraged deep learning for their AI, and the process of translating their classic 2D characters for a beautiful, stylized 3D world. It's time for the next Twinmotion Community Challenge. Twinmotion is looking for your best autumn-related video created in Twinmotion. With $500 up for grabs, head over to our blog to get full details on how to submit your entry by November 13th, based on the best modern building in fall. Good luck! To see how the fledgling studio Artplay was able to create a critical success with Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, we interviewed prominent Castlevania producer Koji Igarashi, who talks about what it's been like developing a new IP as an indie studio with more finite resources. Igarashi also elaborates on design elements, how they balanced fair gameplay with challenge, and how community feedback impacted their visual design leading up to launch. Jumping over to our top weekly Karma earners, many thanks to Crisp Clover, Clockwork Ocean, Thompson N13, Adno, Unearthly Whales, Crewdimer, Ion Miru, Indie Game Cove, Shadow River, and Firefly74. These rock stars are helping others out on AnswerHub. Answer questions there and you too could see your name up here. First up for our spotlights this week is the short film Sentinel, created by a small team of students from DigiPen Institute of Technology. In it, a lone warrior faces off against a mechanical alien ring which threatens her world. Here we have Project Haven, a tactical turn-based RPG in development by a team of 2 based in Portugal. As commander of the Steel Dragons, control squadrons of mercenaries to combat your enemies and take down the corrupt government of Haven City. And last up is Interactivity, the interactive experience. In their own words, Interactivity is a short, kind of creepy, meta-narrative walking sim. It started as a UE4Jam game back in January 2015 and is now available on Steam. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you all next week.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Unreal Engine livestream. I'm your host, Victor Broden, and with me today I have Matt Workman, the developer of Cinetracer.
That's how you say it. It's not Cinetracker, it's Cinetracer. We nailed it.
Have you seen Tracker?
I get all the variations. Tracker is the most one. I think Tracer isn't like a word that people are used to saying, so Tracker's the next closest.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about Cinetracer, what it is, and
Sure,
history behind it?
Yeah, so Cinetracer is technically an Unreal Engine game. But I've tried to take like the fun aspects of video games and apply that to professional filmmaking previs tools. So in the film industry, they like to plan shoots beforehand in 3D these days, but typically that's happening in like more complicated programs like Maya. And so my idea was to take that kind of previs workflow out of DCCs and into an actual video game, and Fortnite Creative and Minecraft kind of proved that you could really do some like significant building. So I moved it into, started building in Unreal Engine, and it's kind of like Fortnite Creative but for filmmakers. And we have cameras and actors, and right now it's a creative mode, and for the last month I've been working on making it into like an actual video game that has like an educational component to it.
All right, so there will be some sort of interactive learning, sort of how to set up shoots, I guess?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I saw some cool tweets where you were playing around with ray tracing as well, and making it look very good. And it's kind of cool to see that and get that just as a binary that you can play around with.
Yeah, I mean, that's all Unreal Engine. I just turn on a ray tracing switch. But yeah, I think we're a good use case where we're not looking for like 60 frames per second all the time necessarily. You know, so we can turn on the shadows, turn on the reflections, and for us, we're mostly just looking to take like a screenshot and then bring that on set and be like, this is what we're kind of looking to make it look like. So we're a great use case to turn on the ray tracing even on like I think it's like early access still, right? Like it's not technically like a shipping
Correct. Yeah.
feature, yeah, but we ship it. And that's okay for us though, and we take advantage of it. And the cinematographers that use it, we really care about the lighting, and the ray tracing just makes the lighting way more realistic. So it's really great timing.
How long have you been working on the project?
I think it's been about a year and a half, something like that.
Okay.
And started off knowing zero Unreal Engine. So
Yeah,
a year and a half ago, I didn't even know what like an actor was. I didn't know anything.
And yesterday and today, when we've just been chatting, it seems that your vocabulary is definitely the vocabulary of a game developer, which is interesting because your background is in film and sort of directing, right?
Yeah, I was a commercial cinematographer and music video cinematographer for about 10 years in New York City. Though early college, I did go to school for computer science. So I have a little bit of
All right.
C++ knowledge, but I never did it professionally, and I sure definitely forgot all of it. So coming back into Unreal Engine, I knew a little bit, but it was pretty fresh, just learning it all over again.
That's awesome. So today, though, we're here to talk about your Blender to Unreal Engine workflow, because you moved from other DCC tools like Maya, right? That's what you used to work with, I guess within the film industry as well previously, and then you switched to Blender.
Yep.
What was the reason?
The real reason is I was in LA filming a project that we might see a clip of soon, and my Maya subscription lapsed. And something at that point I was like, I don't think I'm gonna keep going with this. I was like, I keep seeing so much stuff about Blender 2.8. I'd used like the beta 2.8 a little bit, and I just kept seeing more and more content around it and developers being excited about it. I was like, I think it's time to like really just try Blender and try to like make it work completely. And so literally when I was in LA, when I came back, I decided, I was like, I'm in the phase of my game where I'm stripping out all the marketplace assets and I'm rebuilding everything myself. I was like, I'm gonna do this all in Blender. And there's another developer I know who makes a game called Industria, which I can show later. He's been using Blender, and I've been watching his live streams on Twitch, and he's getting everything done. Great looking meshes, UVing everything, the skeletal meshes, it was all working out for him. So I was like, if it's working for him, then I think it's time to give it a try. And for the last month, I've been doing it every day, pretty much, and working out the workflow, and it's perfect. It works like perfectly for my workflow now, and I'm just excited to see all the developers who are like contributing source code to this and updates to it. It's like, it's pretty exciting to see, and I think after like no time at all, like a year or two, we're going to see just like incredible things coming from it. And the integration with Unreal, I can just imagine it's going to get better and better.
Yeah, Blender 2.8, and for those of you who don't know, Blender is a open source DCC tool. There's modeling, texturing, UVing, even sculpting, I believe.
Oh yeah, sculpting's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it's easy, small binary download.
Yeah, it's performant. Runs great on Mac and PC, and is like way more performant than my game right now. You can just leave it on, and it's has a built-in render. It has so much, and I think they really got like the benefit of looking at like what the modern 3D ecosystem is. Whereas like older programs, they were built a long time ago.
Yeah.
That code base is designed for things before there was ZBrush, before there was Substance Painter, And so Blender, I think, has like kind of a fresh start on making like what a modern 3D DCC should be like. So they have sculpting in it, and they know how that pipeline should look, and they have so many things built into it that the older DCs that didn't exist back then. This is like a rethinking, I think, of how 3D should be, and the 2.8 really nailed it.
And it's a pretty powerful combination. Unreal Engine is free to use. Blender is completely open source. If you have a PC and you would like to get started with game development, you can ship an entire game using just these two free and very accessible tools.
Yeah, it's an incredible time. Like I think back in high school, it's like I want to make like a 3D anything. Like even if it's just a still picture. Like back then, I wanted to make like, like a short film, like a game cinematic. It was so expensive to get the software. Like I think I had it was like Discrete 3D Max. I think was like the first software I bought. Big blue box. I think it was pretty expensive. My parents were pretty supportive, so I got it. Hardware was expensive, and I don't think there weren't game engines that were like open source back then. I don't believe. But you fast forward today, and like Blender has everything that you need, completely free. There's like hundreds and hundreds, or I think like more like thousands of hours on YouTube for tutorials, and same with Unreal Engine. So they're both free. You can just get right into it. You do have to get hardware, right? But it's a great time, and that's like one of the things that keeps me going right now for my project is like I want to make things that kind of like inspire people to create things digitally. make it easier. Cinetracer, I'm trying to make it easier for someone to just make a little cinematic, right? Something short. And then bigger picture, me streaming Blender and Unreal Engine, that's like a more advanced tool, but it's like you can build Fortnite with it. I mean, you pretty much could at this point, I think. So I'm excited to share Blender and Unreal Engine and show like how I use it. It's not necessarily the endorsed Epic way, but it works for me and I'm getting results. And the content I've made with it this month with Blender and Unreal, I'm shipping in an update on a live game on Steam like next month. So it's like, it's for real.
Yeah, Cinetracer is available on Steam. We should probably drop a link in chat at some point if you want to go check it out. There's plenty of content on YouTube as well. Do you have you live stream your development frequently?
Yeah, when I first started doing game development, I was streaming on Twitch like every single day. Mostly because I didn't know Unreal Engine like at all, and people would come on who knew a lot more, and they would like tell me how to do things. They would like walk me through. I remember the day someone was like, "You should stop using arrays. You should use data tables." And I was like, "I don't know what that is." And like literally, I'm the one streaming, and they were walking me through data tables. And now I use data tables, and it's lovely.
Thanks to the community, that's what happens. And I know what's up. It's fun to jump on and see someone work, see what they do well. Not want to be a backseat developer, but sometimes it's just like, hey, did you know about this? Very similar to what we do here sometimes. So.
Yeah, it was really helpful. And then from a marketing point of view, we had some like my alpha users were on there, and we would just like go through bugs together, kind of live. And now I've moved back to YouTube, so I stream on YouTube, which is a little bit awkward. It's not exactly the Twitch community as far as game development, but I like YouTube now because my YouTube channel is like much bigger, and the VODs just are nicer. Like as a developer now, I'll stream for like 4 hours or something like that, and YouTube keeps the VODs there like forever, and I put them in a playlist, and then I can go back and watch them. So I'll watch myself building the blueprints, 3D modeling, and it's kind of like if you're a professional gamer, you can watch your replays. I think about it the same way. Like I want to watch. I want to see like how did I 3D model this, and like how did I do this, and I like to watch it back. And I think even within the last month, you can go to my YouTube channel, look at the progress. I'm much better at Blender. It's a much more seamless process. So I like personally being able to go back and watch what I was doing.
Cool. Why don't we dig into it and see how you actually work with it?
So, sounds good.
Yeah.
Was there a video you wanted to show first?
Oh, right. We were talking about, let's go ahead and play. And so a little preface for the video. This is a project you did with Epic a couple of months ago, specifically for SIGGRAPH, right?
Yep.
And let's watch the video. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and then we can chat a little bit about it.
Sounds good.
Great, let's cut and reset.
No matter what the project is, the creatives always want to see the closest representation to the final product as early on in the creative process.
When I first walked onto set and the wall was up and we started to look through the camera, it really started to feel like I was just filming in this actual location.
We can track a camera's position in space in real time and render its perspective so that we can compellingly convince a camera that something else is happening in front of it that really isn't there.
The thing to keep in mind is that the 3D world that you see on the wall is also a 3D scene that you can manipulate in Unreal Engine. So this gives the filmmakers full flexibility to make any change they want to the scene live.
So it's really exciting to see that we can, use the real-time lighting to not only change the environments virtually, but also have it affect the on-set lighting as well. This opens up kind of like a virtual playground to shoot in.
We've tried to expand the engine to be a very collaborative platform. So the director of photography, the director, they can all go into the scene and make modifications as they wish, as opposed to waiting for months and months.
In this new frontier of virtual production, the filmmaker is more grounded into the scene that they're shooting, into the story they're trying to tell.
Because you can interactively change the world, it brings all of those departments together because each one of them has a role in how this world is portrayed at some point along in the production.
It's been my dream to get computer graphics to the point that they're totally photoreal. And I've loved video games and movies all my life, and this is bringing the best of them together.
All right. Was that fun?
It was fun. That was a first for me. I'd actually done like a smaller version of shooting live action against LED walls, but that was a very, very big one. So that was a lot of fun.
Cool. Perhaps we can get back and talk a little bit more about it later.
Yeah.
I think it's time that we get to the meat of the stream.
Some people want to see Blender?
Yes,
is
they
that what
do
we're
wanna
here
see
for? We want
Blender.
to see Blender.
Yep.
I could guess. Let's do Blender.
All right.
Cool. So this is a stock Unreal Engine third-person blueprint. If you've never opened it, definitely go open it. So this comes like stock right here. You get the mannequin, you can run around, and this is actually how I started Cinetracer. Cinetracer is literally this project, and then I kept adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And so one of the first things that's really cool to do is change the animations on the mannequin, right? That's like one of the first things. You're like, okay, he runs, you know, how can I make it so that he does something else, right? Can I make this mannequin do something else using Blender? And the answer is yes. So that's what we are going to do first. We're going to make this animation, or we're going to make the mannequin do something that if you've seen the thumbnail, you might know, you might know what's going on. So that's the goal, though. Big picture. Okay, we're going to jump into Blender. We want to generate an animation for this mannequin that we make ourselves. And for me, in Cinetracer, I have my character, you know, pull up like a viewfinder or a light meter, an action like that, something custom that we can't get off the marketplace. So a lot of people have probably tried, if you take the skeletal mesh of the mannequin, which he's around here somewhere, I think that's him. If you export this out and you bring it into Blender, it is technically possible to do that workflow and get it back in, but it's not the best. So the way that I personally do it, I'll show that right now. So we're going to hop into Blender here, and this is stock Blender, and I'm going to pull up
2.8, right?
2.8, yep, stock. Not the betas are 2.81 and 2 are
Okay.
betas, I think, still. So let's see if I can pull this tab over nicely. Oh, it got kind of stuck. It's coming. It's coming. So I found this plugin rather recently. It's made by Jim Croovy here. And let me get this other window over like this. This is aptly named Mr. Mannequin Tools 1.0. And it's great. You can download it for free, or you can help support and you can put in your price. That's like something that people do on Gumroad for sure. So I've been testing this, and it works incredibly well, and we're going to show it right now. So thank you to Jim Croovy for making this and sharing this with the community. It's really good. I'm just going to dock these tabs over here real quick. So we're in stock Blender, and I come from Maya, first and foremost, for game development. So it took me a month to switch over, but I'll try to keep kind of like a Maya-centric mind when we're talking about this stuff, if you're new to Blender here. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to Preferences here. It's off screen. And we're going to go to Add-ons, which are plugins essentially. You download that zip file, and you basically click Install, and you find that zip file. It installs it. It's really easy. There's no other setup than that. And once you have Mr. Mannequin, I'm going to first clear this scene out. I'm going to hit A, which selects everything, and then X to delete it. I'm going to hit N, which brings out our toolbox, and this is, I think in general, where the add-ons go, is right here. So this is by far the fastest workflow I've seen for getting a mannequin in that's rigged, that you can animate, and goes directly back into the engine. So we're going to start by doing load rig here. We'll zoom in. So this is the rig for it, and then we're going to load a mannequin mesh here, like that, and we're done. That's it. Trust me, that is like, that's a breath of fresh air. That is very fast.
Pretty impressive, because I've tried myself before the export-import workflow, and there was a lot more manual work than I was willing to do to get the bone orientations to be the proper.
Oh man, yeah, and even if there's another rig that's out there, there's several. There's other ways of doing this, but you have to still import them as an FBX, and that can go wrong. This can't. I mean, this is handled for you. It's really nice, and I think there's a 1.1 update coming out soon if you want to switch out the custom mesh and that sort of stuff. But we're going to kind of stick to some high-level stuff here. So I'll show you how rigs work in Blender. I'm not like an expert, but I am using this current workflow here. We're going to select the actual rig itself, and we're going to switch over here into pose mode, right? And if you look really quickly, edit mode is where you'd go if you wanted to like change how the bones were set up, like your default pose. Don't do that unless you really are like a tech artist in Blender. Don't do that. Go to pose mode here, and now we have your typical IK controls, and these are really good. I like these a lot. For a fresh Blender, we have to do gizmos, because by default, gizmos don't really show up necessarily.
Okay.
So you have to turn on these two here. And this is your typical move, rotate, and scale. We're not going to be scaling anything right now, but I'm going to start to make a pose here. It is a dab. I've been told that's okay. This is an okay thing to do. I am using global move, so I'm just going to start putting together a pose and just showing how this rig works. That's how elbows work. That's a good elbow right there.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Chip it.
So we're just going to take the elbow target. No big deal. No need to freak out. I saw you guys for nuts. It's all good. A wrist a little broken here. Going to get in there. We're going to rotate it. I'm not going to pose here. I'm not going to sit here and pose here for too long, but we do have to get a proper looking dab here. This is technically a right hand dab. This is a right hand dab, I believe, is what's going on.
I'm not.
That's what the kids
I'm
call
not
it.
a pro.
That's what I've heard. And so with just this rig here, if you've tried to rig the mannequin before yourself, you can actually see, I'm going to switch into local. You can actually see, let me get in real close on here. There's a lot going on, but if you rotate the wrist, you actually see that he has the twist bone for the wrist set up. I'm twisting this kind of awkwardly. But the wrist is actually twisting. And that you have to set up yourself. Like the twist bone is there, it's skinned, but you have to rig it. So he's already done that for you. It works really well. If you don't twist the bone like that and you just spin the hand without doing the twist bone, the hand just like rips off. It looks like it got
It's like
ripped
more like a
off.
dull part, right?
Yeah. And so Epic gives you, a proper skeleton, but you have to rig it. And it's a lot of work. So this rig does all that for you. So here's the making of a fine dab. I think this is going well so far. I'm going to go to the other hand. People do it differently. There's different ways to go about it. Some people keep the hand low. We're going to go for a high one for the counter hand, like that. So same thing with this wrist. So we're just going to do a little bit more tweaking on this pose, and then we're going to bring this into Unreal Engine. And there's all sorts of controls on this that are pretty clever. Some of them I've never seen before, but there's a lot of like volume preservation going on, or like which specifically like near the thighs and the shoulders. He has a lot of ways to control this. So this is like a pretty professional rig. And from how I've been testing it, is completely animation ready too. We're just going to bring out a pose, but you can definitely animate it as well. And I'll be animating it later for my project. So something like this, that's feeling okay. And we're just going to bring the head down just a little bit. Going to go for a little bit of little nod and a little turn into the dab. We're going to turn into it. This is feeling good. Okay. And you don't typically rotate this one too much. You can. It's like, it's going to be a little bit awkward on the chest. But he's got some spine controls here. So there it is. This is lovely. We've done fine work. So I'm using Blender at like 1080p, so it's a little squished, the UI. So to key this now, to save it, we're going to hit A, and that selects all the controls. I'm going to right-click, insert keyframe, location, rotation, scale. You could probably just have done location and rotation, but I'll do the whole thing. So we've got one big old keyframe here, and there's our pose. So if you've used any other IK rigs, this is production quality, I think. This works perfectly well for me. So the process of getting this out is a little bit different than your standard export, which we could talk more in detail about it. You want to use the way that he has designed the export. There's a lot of settings to manage with Unreal Engine to Blender. This one does it for you with the mannequin. It's fairly complicated, so this really just makes it very quick and simple. We'll go over making our own custom skeleton, and I'll show you more of the actual settings too. But if you're specifically looking for mannequin stuff, this is like the easiest one I've found so far. So real quick here, I'm not sure if his handles it, but we want to change the frames per second to 30. Right? So Blender's defaulting to film 24 frames per second. I want to change that to 30. I believe that has to happen for his plugin. I'm not sure if it converts it by itself. But so we've keyframed this pose here. And within this plugin here, this add-on, the Mr. Mannequin Tools, we want to do export mesh and export animations. And we're just going to set up these folders here. So I have a folder already made. I have one for meshes. This is if you're going to export the FBX, and one for the animations, which I'll go over here, anims. There it is. And I believe I was messing with this earlier. You have to click on start and end keyframes. That's what was helping me get this actually out. And so with that, fingers crossed, we export to FBX. Let me just double check in the file browser that actually came out. I believe it will. Off screen, it did not, so hold on one second. So let's see here. So I did that. We keyframed it. I'm in object. Click. Export meshes. We're not technically exporting this mesh. The animations, this should go there. Apply modifiers. And FBX. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save this file.
It's a good idea.
I think that was it. Yeah, I think it wants to be saved. So I believe this is my Blender folder here. All right, so we have a little Blender folder. I'll just overwrite this one. That might be it. It might need to be saved for this to actually export. There it is.
There we go.
Excellent. Yeah, so save your Blender files in general. Decent practice. So the name of that comes in a little bit long, but you can just change it if you want here. So now we're back in Unreal Engine, and we are going to apply that animation we made to this mannequin. And so it's a little crunch, the content viewer, so I'm going to try to find all this stuff. Is this a skeletal mesh right here, right? This guy. Okay, so we'll drag him out. And so we're going to import that animation. There's an animation folder here. So we're going to make one of these here. So we'll go to Import, and this is that folder, Blender Anims. Definitely go ahead and rename that. For me, I'm just going to leave it. That's like a stock name. You would change it to whatever makes sense for your project. And we're going to apply it directly to the UE4 mannequin skeleton. There's a lot of workflows where you bring in your own skeleton and you retarget. Those are pretty easy, but there's a lot of places that go wrong. This, you just apply it right to the skeleton, really easy. None of this. Don't change anything. Keep it all stock, and we're going to import. Ooh, look at that. We have no errors. Like if you've never done this before, you're probably like, oh, that's probably how it's supposed to work.
Right.
But if you have done this before and you've gone through the alternate ways, you can spend hours just trying to tweak all the settings and trying to get it right. This one with the plugin right in there, like how it's supposed to, how you would hope it would always work. So we have this animation in here, and a quick way of testing is taking this skeletal mesh here, and we're going to switch it to just using an animation asset. We'll just drag that in there. Oh my goodness, lovely. We'll go inspect it really quickly. There it is. The mannequin doing the thing. Deep dab going on. So that is incredible. And I've been messing around with the skeletons for quite a bit. The mannequins. There's other projects out there. Rigify is good. It's more of like an art style plugin. So you have to kind of know how to set up skeletons a little bit. It will generate the rig for you, but this is like the best one-click, really simple workflow. And for me as a solo dev, that's what I want. I want this to happen quickly. I don't want to have to get into the tech if I don't have to. So this allows me to work pretty high level, make a pose, make an animation, right onto the mannequin. And my project uses the mannequin.
And this is a way that you could, for example, make animations for the Paragon characters or pretty much any of the characters on the marketplace, right?
Yep.
Because they're all using the same skeleton.
Yep. So for me, I use the it's ALS. I'm trying to remember. It's Advanced Locomotion System.
I think so.
I don't use the actual blueprint because it's pretty heavy. I'm sure it's performant, but I just take the animations from it. So it's a lot of walks, crouch walk, normal walk, and a run. They're really nice 8-axis because I do like a strafing game. And I take those and I use the feet for the lower body animations for walking around. But then I'll mix in my custom animations for the upper body. So I'll do that really quickly here because it's going to be fun. And then we'll jump back into Blender and start to work through kind of making props and then making our own skeleton. We're going to kind of dress up this scene a little bit here. But so what I'll show you real quick is just a general workflow for, oh, that's not the blueprint. We want this blueprint. This is just a general workflow to mix like marketplace assets or the default blueprint animations with your custom one here. And this is something that I think if this was the first thing you did in Unreal Engine, it's pretty fun. So I'm going to try to jump into this blueprint, open the editor, and I need to go to, I'll go to this one. So we're going to click on the skeletal mesh. That's an itty bitty sidebar right there. Let's find the animation blueprint here. There it is. And so we're going to lace in that dab into this game so that it actually works. So to start, we're going to have a variable on this third-person character, and we're going to call it, oh, I added a graph. Graphs are cool too, but I meant to add this. We're going to call it isDab ? Unreal Engine's the only place where I'll put a question mark in the variable, and it works out. It's cool though, I like having them.
I'm sure there are some programmers in chat who would have something to say about it.
Hey, it's going to compile. I'm shipping a game. I'm shipping a game with question marks in the variables. Okay, so we're going to do, what is it? Event, mouse left click, I think. Oh, there it is. Mouse button. Mouse button. And this is standard programming. The isDab variable set up here. So when we press down the left mouse button, we will be dabbing. It'll be true. When we release, we will not be dabbing.
Jim, actually, he's in chat right now,
oh,
the developer of the plugin, and he said that update 1.1 goes live tonight.
Oh, excellent.
It can import mannequin animations to the rig for editing.
Ooh, that sounds good. It's the one. It's the one. We won't talk about the, anyway, yeah. It's really good. I think everyone should go get that right now and support it. So we've set up the dab here. I left click and we are dab. Now I'm going to go to this animation blueprint and we're going to go get that variable out of here. And Victor was showing me some hacks, some tricks. We're going to cast to the third person character. Should I make it pure? Should we go pure here?
No, let's do it. Let's do it the way that you've done it, and we can talk about the pure a little bit. I have before.
My way. I don't know if my way is the right way, but
it depends.
It's working. It's working for me.
When we're talking about pures for casts, you have to be 110% sure that that will never return a null pointer, and not using the pure prevents that error from ever happening.
I think that answers it because I'm not 110% sure about anything.
So then leave the cast the way it is.
Okay.
But for those of you who are curious and like to clean up your blueprints and maybe you are 110% sure, you can right-click the cast node and convert it to pure.
In this project, I'm pretty sure that this is what we're casting to.
It will.
But in general, yeah. So high level, we're just we're in the animation blueprint and we're getting the pawn that owns this blueprint, just making sure that it's the third person character, and because we're sure that third person character, because we added the variable dab, we can find out if it's dabbing or not. So we're going to drop a quick branch here. Promise this is not a long tutorial. As far as setting this up, we'll get back into Blender. So now the animation blueprint knows if we're dabbing or not, and we're going to add another variable here called dabness, and I'm going to make it a float, which we'll see why in a second. Like that. Saving. And we're going to drag these out, and so if our character is dabbing, we're going to set dabness to 1, and if not, we're going to set it to 0. You can also use a select, but I'm always a little bit clumsy with select nodes, so this is kind of a simpler way for me, at least to debug later. So now the blueprint knows if we're dabbing or not, and we're going to simply take, if you've never been in here, this basically allows you to have the legs move and jump, and it handles those animations for the whole body. And how do you get back? It's this, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to intercept that animation here, and we're going to just layer our animation over it. So that's a layered blend per bone here, like that. Throw that in there. We're going to go find ours. Again, we named it kind of crazy. So the animation we brought in is named kind of odd. It should be called like UE4 Mannequin Dab or something. But you can change that. So we throw that in there, and you'll see that it has a blend weight there, and we're going to simply make that our dabness. So when dab is 1, it's going to play that animation, and we just have to set up what bone that's going to take over at, and this is like super standard. Is it this to add an array, add an element? Yeah, there it is. We're just going to do the blend at spine_1. If you've never done this before, you will do it a lot eventually. Like, this is super common to have different animations for the lower body and then take over the upper body. So, moment of truth. Is this going to work the first time? It's not usually the case. Okay, let's go somewhere interesting up here. We're testing it for the first time. I'm going to left click. Oh.
There it is.
Oh my goodness. There it is. The jumping dab, is this going to work out for me? Boom. Oh. Spinning. We're going to do a 720 dab and we're going to go back to Blender. Oh. One more try. Just one more. Here it is. Wait. Okay. Pressure.
You need to have fun.
Oh, okay. 360 dab. We got it here. Okay. So a little bit silly, but I think that if you're like making your own video game, it's like, if it's third person or even first, it's like you want to be able to walk around and you want to be able to do actions, right? And if that's not shooting or swinging a sword, there's not much, the marketplace has stuff, it doesn't have everything. So if you want something more serious, like mine, we pull out light meters and whatnot. That was a pretty fast workflow into Blender back here, and you can go show this to your friends. This right here. This is what I hope everyone's making right now, following along, is literally this. So go make your animation for the upper body, layer it in Blender, and I feel like you'll feel pretty good, especially if you're like new to this. I know that's one of the first things I struggled for, like, I think months probably, to figure this out, because I was in Maya and using HIK and a whole bunch of other stuff. Blender in this is like super simple. Oh, that's the tilde. That's not escape. Okay, cool. So I'll close this up. So we have that character now. So that is what I've found to be the simplest mannequin workflow. And we'll jump back into Blender and start to look at some more, we'll start with like the static mesh workflow. If you want to make a prop, you want to make a modular building piece, you want to make a building, what does that generally look like? And we're going to start a new one, general. So a lot of people, especially on the older blenders, they would have gone to over here to scene scale, if I can find it. Where is that hanging out? It's around here somewhere. Scene scale. Where are you, scene scale? Units. So Unreal Engine base unit is centimeters, and base unit for Blender is meters. It's not the worst. It could be inches. That would be a straight disaster if it was inches for everybody. But it's meters, so like worst case, you're dealing with like these offsets of like, you'll bring something in and it's like, oh, it's 100 times too small, or it's 100 times too big. So that's not the worst. That's an easy thing to fix. And especially in older Blenders, you would have gone to make Blender match Unreal, you would have made this 0.01. And you can do that, but I think that that starts to make issues for Blender itself. Like when you're doing physics and you're doing rigging and some other things, changing that scale can really start to make things kind of funny. So I tend to work at just 1, and we'll look at what happens in the workflow as you do that. For static meshes, no skeletons, you can work at just stock Blender 2.8, and it works fine. I talked to some people before the stream. They said that they were bringing in their 2.7 whatever project into 2.8 and then exporting, and then it wasn't working. The scale is getting funny, so that might not work. You want to work in like a fresh Blender 2.8, and it's, you'll see here, it's going to work fine. But just so that you know, Blender is scale 1 meter, so everything's going to look like that. So we're just going to model something. This is like the workflow I use, and I'll show you some of the Blender tools here. If you're coming from Maya and other programs, there is a setting in the beginning that lets you choose industry standard like hotkeys, so you can use Alt left click to tumble, WERS for move, rotate, scale. It sounds like a good idea at first, but I wouldn't do it. I started off doing it that way. It's not good. You want to use the stock, in my opinion, stock Blender 2.8 hotkeys, because all the tutorials are basically taught like that. And Blender thinks differently than Maya. And so I think the trap that happens is if you use industry hotkeys, you're like, oh, cool, it works like Maya. Now everything else I want to work like Maya too, and that's the wrong way to think about it. Blender has its own way of thinking, and the hotkeys are tied into that mindset. So this isn't going to be like a beginner tutorial for Blender, but in general, if you hold the middle mouse button, it's tumble, shift middle mouse button, control middle mouse button. Yeah, so it's all middle mouse button. That's what you want to know at first. And so we want to add an object. We're just going to model something. You can go to add here, or the best hotkey that you're going to want to know is Shift A. So we're just going to spit these out there. You're not going to remember all of them. So we're going to make our first object.
Shift awesome.
Huh? Shift awesome. Yep. I'll take it. You're going to hit it a lot. I hit that a lot. So we just made our first parametric cylinder here. And anytime you do an action, kind of in general in Blender, once you do the action, you're going to get this menu down here. This is for like all sorts of things, operations. And this is where it's still pretty much parametric. So I can change how many vertices is 8. It's pretty good. We'll make the radius 0.1. And I'm going to make the depth 1. So it's still parametric. And there's a bunch of other options here as well. As soon as I click off of this thing, it's not parametric anymore, right? So it's not like Cinema 4D that has like infinite parametric objects like forever. In Blender, once you make it, it's gone. But the important thing to know is that when you do an operation in Blender, that little box comes in there and you can change it. We're going to look at some variations of that. I'll bring this up just a little bit. So next thing, we want to get into this and edit the vertices and the edges. You can go up to object mode and go, there's a lot, but you can go into edit, right? And there's these little buttons up here, vertex, edge, face. But the fast way, and I like this, you click it, you hit tab, goes into edit, and then it's 1, 2, 3 for vertice, edge, and face. That's pretty nice. I feel like we were saying we're fellow WoW players here. These are the MMO keys, so like this. Oh, it feels good. It feels really good. Okay, so let's look at beveling. So I'm gonna hit 2, and something that's important about Blender is like I think from here I can actually select all of them. But say I want to select the back faces. This is pretty unique to Blender. Typically you could go into, oh, this UI is tiny. Oh my goodness, can I even see it? There they are. Okay, we're okay. You know, there's your typical view modes. You have wireframe and flat shaded, and this one's for like doing materials and then lighting. What's important is that if you want to select through in this, you actually have to turn on this here. It's called Show X-Ray. And to select through an object or select, you know, edges that are behind it, you actually have to have that on, and that hotkey is Alt-Z. And you need that a lot. So tab 1, 2, 3 and Alt-Z. If you're trying to grab these back faces with it off, it won't grab them, right? And that's something you have to really know about Blender. that confused me for a long time. Like I'd be in wireframe and I still wouldn't be selected in the back. Like you would think you have to make sure that you have this like overlay onion skin mode on. So that's important. So I'm going to show you one of the kind of unique things about Blender that I really like. I'm going to grab these faces. Oh yeah, so that's, I know there's a mode to like actually show the hotkeys in Blender. I forget how you turn that on, but I'll just say it. We're doing Alt left click. In edge mode, we grab this edge ring, and I'm going to do Control B to bevel it. And this is one of my favorite things, if I can get it to activate. Oh, there she is. Okay. So this is like a live bevel, and what you can do is you can scroll to change how many subdivisions. So it gets like, it feels good. It feels good to do this, and you can really eyeball it and go back and forth. And a lot of the tools, once you know the hotkeys like this, they're great. They work just like this.
And Blender's always been pretty heavy on, you know, I would say being fast what you're doing, which is not clicking around in the UI, right?
Yes.
I remember I wrote it like 6 years ago. I wrote up like a what I call a lazy dog sheet where I had all the hotkeys written up instead of having to go and search for them every time. But you know, it's like any piece of software, right? Once you learn that, the workflow is so nice and you can't not use it.
Blender is fast, and you'll see that like the gizmo concept is actually kind of new to Blender, and that like most of it can be done without a gizmo, which sounds crazy for me coming from Maya, where it's like almost all gizmo. But I've gotten into the hotkeys now, and you're like, it's like half commands, half hotkeys, and I'll show you some of them, and it's really fast. And if you like to work parametrically, like I want to bevel this 0.2, then I want to move it up 0.3. You can do that all with hotkeys like really fast. And like pros in Blender turn off the UI and it's just like magic, which is cool. I used to do that.
I'd like to see that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm at that point, but. So I'm gonna undo out of this. This bevel feature, you bevel a lot, right? I mean, it's pretty important. I hit the wrong button, Control B. This is a lifesaver, just to be able to like kind of eyeball how many subdivisions you want, especially for like a low poly game, it's great. And then once you click, you get this, like the parameters of it. So you can go in here and be like, oh, it's close to like 0.03, and then you can change the segments after the fact too. But I really like that live, moving the mouse and then scrolling. There's a lot of tools that do that, and they're really helpful and really fast.
It's like a mix of sculpting and modeling almost.
It feels live. It feels like you have a little bit more control versus like coming over and being like click, 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 and click, click, click. How many, like, this is slower. It's combining those steps together into a mouse and scroll at the same time. A lot of tools work that way. So there's a capsule looking thing. So the next one that's really good here, again, is Control R. And this is a loop cut tool. And same thing here, if I scroll, you can look at the subdivisions. And this is awesome. This is super fast for me. I do this like constantly. So you would click. This is the next thing that throws people off. And this threw me at first. So I committed that like edge loop, right? And now it's stuck to my mouse. It's like, why? Like, why? Why is this happening? There's definitely reasons, and if you want to get out of this, immediately you right-click, and it snaps back to the center. But that threw me super hard at first. So that's loop cut, that's bevel. Those are like, I feel like a really primary part of like low-poly game development, modeling. So those are really important. And this mesh is not too impressive here, but I'm actually going to just change this mesh up a little bit just so that we can look at materials after this. Hold on. Control R, scroll. I'm just going to extrude this piece out here, and then we're going to look at applying materials in Blender, because it's a little bit different concept-wise, and this directly relates, again, to bringing this into Unreal Engine. So I'm going to switch to face mode here. We have the X-ray mode on, Alt-Z. It's also this little overlay thing up there. And I'm going to select through here. Another thing that caught me off guard here is that there's there's more. There's several extrude tools. In Maya, there's one extrude and there's a bunch of checkboxes. Here, they're like their own tools. You need to know that. So we're going to do extrude along normal. There's lots of tutorials on this, but these are the things that like get me through my day when I'm modeling things. So we're going to extrude it in like this, and we are going to stop modeling for now. So we could show this the wrong way to start. So we have this face. We have this, I don't know what this is, a cylinder with some stuff on it. And it's super faceted, right? So to make this smooth, you're going to be in object mode out here. So not editing the vertices and whatnot. You're going to right-click it and do smooth. And that's not quite right. It is smooth, but there's one more step you need to do to get the smoothing groups, which is what Unreal Engine will tell you, to make this look the way that you want. So let's go find it. Here it is. So it's this little green triangle thing. They're calling it context for object data. You need to find this. You need to go to normals, and you do auto smooth. And Cinema 4Ds works very similar. Their tag for this. You're going to just drag this until it looks right. And it's essentially looking at the angles between faces, and at a certain tolerance, it becomes smooth. On an object like this, you have to really go and find it because you want this to be smooth, that to be sharp, this to be smooth, that edge to be sharp, and most of the time, you can nail it with this. There's other workflows for splitting edges and stuff like that, but if you want the fast way, I feel like 9 times out of 10 that's going to work for you. So this is how you address smoothing groups in Blender to Unreal Engine. So we're going to have the smoothing groups the right way the first time, but a lot of people will model something like this, bringing it into Unreal Engine, it'll be like, you have no smoothing groups.
I think it's the
error.
most typical error, yeah.
This is the way to fix it. So just do this right out of the gate, right-click the mesh, make it smooth, and then go down to auto smooth, hit the number. Good to go. We got to do one more thing, actually, but I'm going to save this beautiful file we've made here. I'm going to call it thing_01.blend. Saved it. There it is. So can I do one more thing? So the next thing that's interesting about Blender is that the concept of pivot in Blender is not the same as any other program. Like if you say pivot, it's technically this right here, I believe. Is this the pivot? Yeah, pivot point. Pivot really means like where you're going to scale from or where you're going to do an operation from. I'm not going to cover the 3D cursor just yet. I guess I'll show it really quickly. It's not the origin of the object. In Maya, you typically do the operation from the pivot.
Mm-hmm.
In Blender, you can do operations separately from the object's pivot. So in the typical pivot that you're used to from Maya, that's the origin in Blender. So that's just some naming you want to be careful of. And so if we look at this object, I'll turn on the gizmo, you'll see that it's moving from here. That's the origin. And in every other program, you basically would call that the pivot, but that's the origin here. So this is a little mind-blowing if you've never seen Blender before. So say I want to move the pivot or the origin here. How does one do that? It's a process in Blender, but it teaches you how to use the 3D cursor, which is this thing here. And I'll show it really quick just so that you can know. And then there's a lot of nuance to it, but what we're going to do is we're going to hit Tab. I'm in edit mode. 3 into face. I'm going to select this face. And then, here it comes, Hockeys. We're going to do Shift S. And we're going to move the cursor, which we haven't talked about, to selected. And it puts it there, because that's where I want the origin of the pivot. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what we've done is we've put like a temporary marker, which is this thing. It's called the cursor. It's just holding a point in space, and it's just there for us to reference, and we can do operations around it. It's a new concept. You don't typically do this in any other program. Then you're going to right-click the object and say Set Origin to the 3D cursor. It's a bit of a journey, but a lot of the tools work with this 3D cursor, and I can show you some of them, like Spin, when you're building building roads and sidewalks. It is like the best way to make modular sidewalks is the Spin tool, and it relies around setting that point correctly. So just different concept-wise, pivot and origin is different in Blender.
You just taught me something, because what I've done is that I've moved the mesh to the 3D cursor, or what I thought was the origin of the scene, which typically, especially if you want to scale that, when you scale it a lot, you'll notice the difference because you'll be a couple of, just a little millimeters off or so. So that's awesome.
Yeah, because so you want to put the origin of your object at the bottom frequently. You get good at basically selecting something and then moving that cursor to it, and you'll get used to it. And as you get deeper into the Blender tools, they get really powerful. It's really, really fast. But that's something that you're going to want to do right out of the gate. And then what you can do now is recenter this to 0. So this is like a pretty common way that you would send this back to Unreal Engine, right? So that's those are some nuances of Blender if you're coming from Maya and whatnot. That right out of the gate, if you don't know those things, it kind of sucks, right? But this is going to help you get through this. So we've taken care of the smoothing groups, auto smooth over here, and we moved the origin to the bottom. You could have also just moved it up, but this is a lot more like you know for a fact it's in the right place, right? So we're going to go to some exporting here now. This is let's do materials, right? Let's just do the whole thing together. So I'll close this. This is N to close that guy. So we're going to go to this cylinder here, and we're going to go to materials. It's this little tab here. It looks like the Nuke logo. Currently, there's no materials on this object, and there's a concept here that is pretty cool. It relates almost directly to like element like element numbers or slot numbers on a static mesh, how many materials on it. Has the same thing here. So if we add one material plus here like that, that's a slot for materials. We can add another one and another one, right? So you have to actually designate how many materials you want on the object. It's just like the static meshes. And then we're going to click new material, and that's it. And you have really great standardized PBR materials here. And Eevee does an incredible job of showing that actually. So let's say we make the first material on this metal. So I'll make this full metal, full spec, no roughness. And if you want to see what this is looking like, you have to go to this, which is viewport shading. Right, so it was more impressive if I show that actually. This is Eevee, and it does an incredible job of showing you reflections in metal. And you see people modeling and sculpting hard surface with these like really great viewport reflections, and it's awesome. Like, it's one of the best things about Blender, I think.
So I guess there's a skybox or something that's sort of hidden.
I think that's in one of the project settings around here.
Okay.
You can change that. I think you probably can spin it and use it like you know, for like PBR lighting and like
Okay.
spin it around. I don't know exactly where that setting is, but I think the default one's pretty standard. It's like a sky blue and whatnot, so it helps you just to actually see this. It took a long time for this to come into other viewports to have it looking this nice. So that is our first material here. We'll just call it like Mat 1. We'll fill out these other ones, and we're going to give different materials to different faces. This is something that's pretty common. So we'll do another one. We'll call it Mat 2. It's not my keyboard, so I'll have to look at it. We're going to add another one that's called Material 3. And this took me a while to figure out how this works, because it's a little bit different than other programs. So really quickly, I'm just going to change the base color of that one to red. And I'll change the base color of this one to green. And so the point of this workflow right now isn't to actually use these materials and convert them into Unreal Engine. It's just to designate what part of the mesh I want to have what material, which is, for me, is extremely important in what I'm doing. So say I want to make the top red and the bottom green. Really, I'm just saying that I want them to be different materials when I bring them to Unreal Engine. So tab 3, and I'm going to do Alt-Z to get into selecting through. We'll take these. Oh, I'm using the extrude tool, careful. So we want to go to select, which is W, gets you into that world. We're going to select these here. That's fine. And I'll leave the bottom ones for now. And we're going to click on Material 2 over here, and we're going to just click Assign. Right? So that's pretty easy. We're going to go like that, and say we want this to be Material 3, Assign. And what have I modeled? What is...
Not sure.
Chat, name this object for me.
They
What is
have.
oh goodness. What is it? It's kind of look
I'm
like...
not going to mention it on
You're
the
not going to
stream.
mention it. Okay, fair enough. It looks like a detonator button to me.
All right.
That's what I'm going
Let's go with that.
It's a detonator button, y'all. Okay, so we're going to save. And so we've made this cylindrical object with different materials on it. And so we just want these material IDs to show up in the static mesh. So we've done a lot at once. I think I just moved that object by accident. So let's actually get this back to the engine. We've done a bunch all at once here. Export FBX as you'd think. Here's all the settings down here. And if you've done this with the skeleton before, it goes deep. There's a lot of things happening. All we need to do is select an object. Don't change this. Don't mess with that. We'll talk about it later when we start doing the skeleton. Don't mess with those for now. If you want the smoothing groups to come through, you need to change this to face. And that's going to do that. And then we'll look at this stuff. This is armature. This is the skeletons. I'm just going to turn that off. We'll talk about it later. That's it. That should do it. So here's our Blender folder. I guess I'll just put it here. Thing1.fbx. Export. It's done. We've done it. Let's see how well we've done here. So I'm just going to go back into the... Oh. How do you make it so that it doesn't show all the stuff at once? Like that. Just put a filter. I just want like the folder view. I'll just put it in here. Never mind. So we'll import into this folder, and we'll go find it. I've got a shortcut for it somewhere here. There it is. Thing1.fbx. Let's see how we did. Oh, this import menu's all the way up there. Did I bring in the right thing? Is that right? The thing one? Convert scene. So I believe... Wait a minute. Did I click the right object? I'm just going to, to make sure, I'm just going to make sure I'm bringing in the right one. Thing1.fbx. Okay. There's usually a lot more options for this. Oh, here it is. Ah, okay, yeah. The monitors...
And look for the checkbox.
The monitor is smaller than I'm used to. I'm like, where's all the things? You get really used to your resolution. I usually
Also,
look
I
at 4K.
believe that might be saved. So once you've done it and you open up the import again, might be wrong, but
Okay.
I also remember more frequently seeing,
Yeah.
all of the options.
I was like, oh my goodness. But is this the default? Is it import by default? I forget. Because I feel like, oh, it's import. Yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. So point being that we're trying to stay stock, not getting too messy with these yet until we absolutely have to. Here's thing 1. It brought in 3 materials, and let's inspect this thing. I think we're still compiling. So, didn't get any errors. Yeah, no smoothing group errors, no non-manifold, that sort of stuff. That's super common when you're coming from Blender for the first time. And you'll see the scale should be right as well. We'll go bring it in the scene. And you'll see that we have our 3 material slots, mat 1, 2, and 3. It even kept the order. If you've done this type of stuff in Maya, there's usually a really kind of like you have to separate the meshes and order them under a node and then export and combine to control this order. Otherwise, to me, the Maya ones are random. I can never control this. Here, that's a really great workflow. It's almost one-to-one, the material slots and the, what we call them here, material slots and element numbers, right? Yeah. So that's, those are the basic things you want to look at. And let's test it for ourselves here. That's about a meter, yeah? So the scale is right as well, without having to do that 0.01 thing to change it. So we have our scale, we have smoothing groups, and we have the material slots. Can you dab on these though? I don't know if you can.
They called it a dab controller.
Oh, the dab controller.
Yeah,
that
that's
makes
what it
sense.
is.
Let's see. Boom. Boom. That one's working. That one's not working. Is this one doing okay? That one's good. Okay, we got them working. We have made magic already today. Let's see if we can. So if you're, this is extraneous, but this is an actual real-world training simulator that you have to do as you learn to dab. You need to be able to navigate between these type of things. So pretty good. So that's static meshes, and the mannequin. We've done the things. You can with this, you can make a game.
Yeah, that's your pipeline.
Like you're bringing in props. You're changing your animations to be whatever your game does. I mean, there's a little bit more, but like that is a big piece of it. Next, we'll move into making your own skeletons and your own rigs. It's a little bit more technical. Not everybody, depending on like what you do in game development, gets into making rigs. But I'll show you the basic way that it works in Blender. And I'll just say, like, long story short, it does work. You can make your own Blender 2.8. You can make your own skeleton, make your own mesh, animate them. It comes into Unreal Engine fine. There's one issue that we'll look at, but it basically works. I've been doing it for about a month now, and my whole workflow works fine. So we've done such a lovely job with this mesh. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna keep using it. So we're going to duplicate this up, and we're gonna make a skeleton for it. So I'm gonna hit Shift D, and it's stuck to your mouse. If you right-click, it goes back down, and you could go like that. Little preview of how Blender really works is that if you hit Shift D and then you hit Z, it's forced into the Z. And when you get really good at those things, you can start to model things really fast and move them like precision. And there's all sorts of snapping tricks that are really good. Maybe we'll keep talking about some of those. So we're going to take these ones and we're going to give each one a bone and then animate it, right? And so the way that I'm going to do this, hit W to select. We're going to take all of these and we're going to make them all one mesh. I don't know where you find this other than Control J. It's called join. It's probably out there. Is space set up for me? No, space is play. When you're starting up Blender, you can choose what type of hotkeys you want and what spacebar does. I put spacebar to the search tool. There's like a search tool. I think it's F3 by default. There it is. I would make this space because now you can just search any command and like maybe half the time I just search the command because I don't know where it is and I don't always know the hotkey. And so I guess default is F3. I make it space because I use it a lot. I don't play a lot of animations. Anyway, we join this together. It's all one mesh. I'll name it up here. I'm going to call it Spiny Boy because that's what this is going to be. It's just going to be a spine. So let's add a skeleton to this situation here. You can go to add like this. Where are you? Armature. That's what they call it in Blender. It's called an armature. But I'm going to Shift A because it makes me feel cool. Yeah, I feel cool. Ooh, here's the thing, right? So it just put the armature here. And so this is a nuance of Blender as well. I'm going to undo. I think we're still merged. Our cursor here, which is this, is down there. And every time you make a new object or you add an object, it's going to make it at that 3D cursor, which is really good once you get comfortable placing it. There's a lot of modeling workflows where like it's incredible to be able to call out where you want it. Like you snap it to a certain point, you can imagine a cylinder comes at that exact point, it gets fast. But if you're not aware of that, it becomes annoying. And the fast way to reset this is Shift S. And there's a lot of cool circular menus here, and it's cursor to world origin. So personally, I use cursor to world origin to reset it constantly, and cursor to selected to kind of change where the pivots are all the time. Oh, what did I just do? So I'm going to do Shift S and then 1, which is the hotkey. Shift S1, that's like, it's part of my life when I'm in Blender. That hotkey happens a lot. So with that back there, I'm going to Shift A, armature. Now it goes where you would expect it to go, right at the origin here. So I'm going to go to the skeleton button over here. This is like your typical attributes editor. You dig through these long enough, you'll find the attribute you want to change, right? That's typically how this is going to go. There's one thing here that's called in front. It's kind of like X-ray bones in Maya. It just puts the skeleton so you can see it like that. So something that's pretty different about Blender from Maya. We have this over here, armature, right? And you open it, and it's like, what are these two things here? There's another armature, and then a pose, right? Like, what is that? And so this is a good time to bring up that this outliner here is not like Maya's outliner. Maya's outliner is like the dependency graph, if you've ever gone that deep into it. It will basically show you like the exact parent relationship and a lot of other things that are happening in Maya. This isn't that. This is more like layers and an outliner put together. So these are, point being that these are not two different objects. It's actually a mode. So I'm actually switching modes at the moment. You'll see on the top left, I'm switching from edit to pose to object. I'm not super in love with that, but I think there's probably workflows that they do it this way. But just know that these aren't different objects like you would expect. If that was a Maya outliner, you'd be like, there's some sort of node here with two skeletons under it. That's what it looks like. Yeah, but they're not. It's the same skeleton, just different modes. When you're in this one, it's called edit mode. That's where you're going to set up the skeleton, what you're going to do. And pose mode, that's when you're going to animate it.
Okay.
And that's how they do it. You can't change that. So those aren't two different things, which is what you would think. That's how it goes.
You
okay?
technically could, since it's open source, but...
Oh, okay, stock you can't change. It's not like a setting you can turn
right.
off or something like that I'm aware of. But you just need to know that going out of the gate. So, in armature here, we're in edit mode. This is where you add bones. You move them, right? You're gonna set them up, and we're gonna skin this thing. We're gonna add bones to it. So, another one. Here's the first bone right here in the hierarchy. And technically this right here is the root bone, right? You can't leave it called armature. If you leave it called armature and you bring that into Unreal Engine, it won't let you import it. That's a name clash. So we're just gonna call it root, and we'll see the skeleton if we bring it in. That's what it is. So we're gonna go from our first bone here, and I think it works like this in other programs. I'm not in pose. Let's just add bones. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna extrude bones. That's what they call it. Bone size extrude here. You can also hit E. We're gonna extrude a bone up to there. I'm gonna extrude another bone up to there, like this. So we have 3 bones like this. Let's check it out. Spine 1. I called it spin, so I'm gonna call all the rest of them spin too. Like
Consistency is actually better than inconsistency, even though there's a typo, or if you come up with a better naming convention later. If it's consistent,
I could still have a script run through all the spins.
Correct. It just might become a problem whenever someone else is working on their stuff and they look for the spine.
This whole thing is a problem, I think, right now, but we're getting through it. Okay, so we have we've made a skeleton, and it's really good, actually. I've made, what are pretty much like quadrupeds from this, and it's pretty straightforward to duplicate bones and reparent them, and you can make any skeleton that you want, but this is like a really basic one. So the question becomes now, how do we skin this, right? Like, what's the fast way to do that? So we're gonna go to object mode again. I always get this order wrong, so let me see. I think I'm gonna click the mesh, which I didn't click. The mesh, then the skeleton. It's one or the other, I forget. and then it's Control P, I think we did it right, to parent, and we're going to do automatic weights. And you'll see that there's a bunch of settings for like mirroring and stuff like that. We're keeping it real simple right now. So, like we were the mannequin, we should be able to click on this and go to pose mode, which is like animate mode. Like, now I want to animate this thing. That's kind of the way that I think about it. So we should be able to take this bone, hit R, and it's stuck on there like this, right? So we've essentially skinned it. And I'm not going to go over the weight painting workflow, but you can weight paint it just like you would think in Maya. I'll show you what is kind of like a hard surface way. Like if you were in Maya, you would build a skeleton and then you would literally parent objects under the bones. That's probably how the mannequin is skinned. I guess this mannequin has a little bit of skinning, but that's kind of like a hard bind. I'll show you how that works here. Like how do we tell what parts of the mesh to go to what bone? It's actually really nice if I can remember how to do it once I get to it. Once I find where in the mesh that actually happens. So if we look at the outliner here, you'll see that our root skeleton has pose mode, armature mode, and the mesh has now come under it as well. So I believe it's this. We click on that, which I don't know exactly what that is. It looks like it's like geometry under some node for the mesh. And what you'll see here is you have vertex groups, which are literally groups of vertices, right? So it's like, say like all of these, we could make that a group. And what you see here is that this is automatically giving you groups that match the exact name of the bone, right? So this is really nice. I've done some like really difficult rigs, and this system is great. Knowing that this is spin 3, spin 2, and spin 1, let's do some assigning. To start, I'm going to select all of them. Am I in see-through mode? I think I am. So I'm going to select all the vertices. I'm not in vertice mode, we're in 1. Select all these verts, and I'm going to click on this one and say remove. Next one, remove, and remove. So we've like unskinned it, essentially. Nothing skinned to anything, right? I promise this is fairly easy. We're going to take these vertices. I hope I'm selecting through. I think I am. And we're going to select spine 3, spin 3, and do assign, right? These go to that bone. These ones, click on spine 2, assign. These ones go to the last one, assign, right? So you have to find this. It's the skeletal mesh. You got to click on this triangle thing. There's a vertex group per bone. If you name your skeleton right, I think it's pretty easy to do that weighting. It can be trickier in other programs. I think that's set up pretty nicely. So that's like a hard bind. Let's see if that actually works. And then we'll animate this and bring it into Unreal Engine. Look at skeletal meshes. Some of the things that happen there. Some of the good, some of the still need some work. So let me click on the rig. We're going to again go to pose mode, select this bone. And there it is, right? This bone only affects that part of the mesh. So that's like, for me, I don't do a lot of like weight painting. I'm making like things like
organic.
No, I'm making hard surface stuff mostly.
Right.
So like light stands. So almost all of my rigs are like geometry, like basically parented to a bone. And
More mechanical.
Exactly, yeah. So this is going to work for mechanical animations, and that's the workflow. So with that working, I guess I could just start animating this. So we're going to drop some animation on this. Again, you select the rig. I'll close this. I'll just take it back. Object mode, select the actual skeleton. We're not going to build a control rig. We're just going to FK animate the skeleton, which is valid.
Forward kinematics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Means you animate the bones, which you directly are animating the bones, which you don't. In best practice, you don't usually do that. You would build a rig and then indirectly control it. You have a little bit more control over it, but this is like the brute force way to do it. And I do it this way for like simple objects like this. So we're in pose mode, having the skeleton. I'm going to click on this thing. And you know what? I'm going to select all the bones like that. And I'm going to right click, insert keyframe. There's a lot of different keyframes, but it's defaulting you to location, rotation, scale, transform, right? So I'm going to bring this to 60. And I'm going to do the same keyframe again. And I'm going to go back to 30. And now I'll make like some kind of like swaying motion. So I'm going to rotate it here, then this one like that. I'm going to hit A and select all the bones again, and we're going to drop a keyframe on it like that. And I'm going to change my end here to be just 60. And I think we still have to go change our frames per second back. Where'd it go? Here it is. So we're going to go to 30 frames per second, oops, which is what Unreal Engine wants. Unreal Engine wants 1 second to be 30 frames. And if we hit play, we've made this happen, right? So let's go see if this comes back into the engine and how it comes back in. So this is an important step as well, especially as your scenes get bigger. And it's quite common in Blender to have multiple skeletons, which I don't know if we're going to get to that, but like you'll have kind of dense skeletons and some, you don't want to bring everything. So in this case, it's simple, but we want to select the mesh and then the skeleton in object mode. That's the selection you want. We're going to go to File, Export, FBX, and Selected Objects. It's really important because you might have all sorts of stuff in there. Don't change scale. Don't change this stuff. If you really understand the tech behind it, you can start to mess with it, but I don't. We're going to have face as the smooth modifier here so that the smoothing groups come across. We're going to go to Armature, turn off leaf bones, and in a lot of cases, you want only deform bones because you might have a control skeleton. A lot of people will build rigs in Blender where the control rig is actually another skeleton on top of it, which is not how you usually do it in Maya. It's usually curves and constraints. A lot of people just build it with bones. In this case, if you click only deform bones, only the bones that are actually directly controlling the mesh come. You don't get the control rig with it. This is so that you, if you're doing mannequin stuff, basically that plugin manages this for you. There's a whole checklist of stuff you have to change here, but you don't want to do that unless like you like pain. So we're going to move on to, we're going to call this thing, I'll call it up front here. This is a skeletal mesh thing 1. All right, this is the evolved this is the evolved Pokemon version of that one. It moves. It's got 3. I think that's the best way that we want to think about it. So I'm going to bring it into geometry. You know, you probably want to organize your stuff a little bit better, but let's pop it here. So we're going to import skeletal mesh thing 1. In this case, it is a skeletal mesh. We want the mesh. There's no skeleton to bring it on, so it's going to make a new skeleton, and I want the animations. There's a lot to talk about there, but let's just see what default happens, right? This is stock Blender into stock Unreal Engine without changing. We haven't changed really any axes settings, nothing like that. So we'll bring it in. No errors. This is good stuff. I'm going to save. It did make some more materials. Okay. So let's see what it brought us. What happened? I think the smoothing groups need a little look at, but here's our skeletal mesh. Looks as expected, right? Evolved version of the other one.
A thing trio.
Yeah, a thing trio.
That's what Chad call it.
That makes sense. Look at us with Pokemon knowledge, references. Here's our skeleton. Let's see how this came out. Right? So root, spin 1, spin 2, and spin 3. That's how it goes down, right? So it's a little bit, I'll just take us back into here to remember what's going on here. Like, look at this armature. It has a lot in it. Right now you have like animation in it too. So now it's quite clear that these aren't objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are like nodes and mode switches. So it's a lot's going on in here. So this threw me super hard when I'm like used to like Maya skeletons. It's just like bone, 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 like, and then parenting constraints happen and you don't visualize them. Here, this is visualizing a lot for you. But to inspect it, you want to look at this. You'll see that this root's still called armature, but the first bone got called this.
Okay.
That's how it is. I don't know if there's another way to do it, but that's what I've found so far. That's how you do it. That's your root bone, and then these are the following bones, and everything works out fine. But it's a nuance of the system, and that's our skeleton over here. So let's really put this to the test. I'm going to place this out here. Where are you? Here it is. Oh, it's so small. Okay, look at this ultra wide view how we're operating this. This is cool, right? So did my animation come through? There it is. There it is. Okay, so we're going to switch this to animation asset, drop it in there. There's only one way to test animations. Well, I guess there's probably more. There it is. What do we call it? Spine trio?
Thing trio.
Thing trio.
Thing trio.
We're all so creative. So can you dab on it though? Yes. Yes, it's dabbable. This is an interface for dabbable. Oh, it doesn't have collisions? Oh, it does. It does. There it is. Okay. So, skeletal mesh,
Yep.
animations, skeleton, stock Blender, into
No errors.
Unreal. No errors. Animating properly, right? No weird scaling things. It can be done.
Ta-da.
I'm going to show you the one weird thing that happens here, though. with my Thing Trio skeleton, right? I mean, I look at this and I'm like, I gotta add some sockets. That's the first thing, right? So we're gonna add this socket here. You can immediately tell something's a little bit weird. Why that socket so big? What's going on here? I'm gonna put it up here, right? Like, say I want to attach another Thing Trio to the end of this. If you know that, you should already know something's up. It's like, ooh, that looks kind of weird. It's kind of large, right? So I'm gonna go to my world outliner. Let's small you up here. As one does, I want to attach one of these to one of these. We're going to make it longer. So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to drag it on top of it. Attach. Oh, it's off screen, but you can choose what socket you want to put it on. So I'm going to put it on that new socket we made, and let's go look. It's done an okay job, but let's go to details. I'm selecting the child now. This has been attached to this one. It's keeping its offset, but let's go look at what happens. So let's start resetting these, right? So there's this offset, right? It's moving it forward and blah, blah, blah. So we're going to click this, reset. It goes to the top. Everything's fine, right? If you look here, for it to look like this, which is normal, we have a -90 offset. This is understandable considering how the front axes differ between the two programs. We also have a 0.01 scale, right? So we have this kind of, if you're going to see anything, these are both expected, a 0.01 or 100 scale difference. This happens with the sockets. The way that I fix it, which is a little bit funny, you can go back to the socket, make it -90, and scale it to 0.01, and then these will just stay normal. But this is like the one thing that I'm dealing with, because I'm shipping like assets that go down like this right now, and I'm just doing that to my sockets. That's like the one place where like right now it's a little bit funny. I haven't gotten into morph targets and other aspects of it, but on the whole, the skeleton comes in fine. There might be something funny with because the sockets got spun around and scaled up. Skeleton's good, skeletal mesh is fine, animations are fine. For everything that I've been doing, been perfectly good. The socket thing, kind of weird. I'm not sure. These are like predictable. I have tried like all sorts of different, so I'm changing the scale to, I'm rotating it -90, I'm changing the scale to 0.01, like this. Oh, that seems like kind of small actually. Let's see how that went. My smoother groups need to be adjusted here. Sockets for me are the one place that I have to do this kind of funny workaround. There's just something between the FBX protocols right now where something's funny. But if you're not adding sockets, it works completely fine. If you are adding sockets, you kind of have to do this little workaround, or at least I do. So I should be able to like, I did that to the skeleton. You might have to like reload it for it to like actually know. Oh no, it did it. So I did the transformations on the socket, so now the attached mesh just today is 111 like you'd expect, like that. So that's the one thing that I'm dealing with right now. And is it disappearing like that? I wanted to do one thing to kind of celebrate what we've created today. The timing has to be right. Ready? Wait. Oh, is the collision gone? Oh no. Let me see if I can get it. But this is the workflow that I'm using pretty much every day with Blender. The only thing I'm dealing with is sockets, and everything else is pretty smooth for me.
So Precogniz reached out in chat and said the Blender file units aren't set up correctly regarding the socket issue.
Is this a developer?
I believe so. Seems like he knows what he's talking about.
Okay, fair enough.
It seems please fill us in.
It seems like something that like within an 8.3, 8.2, you know, like another iteration, it just has to be, they just have to spend the time. Someone has to spend it.
So he's saying that it is because of the fact that you're working in meters and units in Unreal are centimeters.
Yes, yeah.
Now, it seems like the model export and import works at scale, but I believe regarding the statements that the file units needs to be set up to centimeters, and then the bones and sockets will have the same scale as well. So
that's probably true. So I've tested this a bunch. I tried to get this even smoother for this presentation of it. If you do this whole process at, I'll show you in Blender. If you do this whole process and at the front of this, before you animate, it has to be before you animate because animation has like different scaling. If you come to this and you write 0.01 and then do exactly what we did, the socket issue won't have scale.
So that's the scale, though. But what about
The
actually?
the rotation?
No. So regarding, I believe, the units themselves. So not the scale of the units, but the actual units. I might be wrong. I think it's something that, hey, Precognist, if you want to go ahead and write something up for us on the forum, that would be awesome.
Sure.
And we can go ahead and discuss it there. He's saying the pop-up is blocking the unit selection. So I believe
You
that
mean changing this?
correct. So that's what I
I've-
used to do in Blender 2.3. Sorry, 2.7.
I've heard that. We could. I'm not going to test it now.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've had mixed results, but it's worth trying. You know,
Absolutely.
and if that is the fix, then I missed.
Ship it.
Didn't exactly get it, but yeah. But it still does work, and you just have to either do it like this, which I like working at stock. Like I don't like having to remember that. I'd rather change it on the Unreal side. You can. I've done it from here, where if you do 0.01, do the whole thing, it won't scale it. But I don't like working in Blender when you change the unit scale.
Right.
Tools in Blender start to work a little bit. Things will be really small, and it kind of throws me off. So I would love it to just work stock, and it pretty much does, except for the socket. But maybe we're saying that like for sockets you should do something like that. But I hope this shows that, you know, the mannequin, that workflow is clean. We didn't have to do any like, oh, bone axis is -Z, and remember any of that. That's stock working. Skeletal mesh with like UVing and materials and a standard FBX workflow, that works great.
Yeah, I have never been able to do anything like this in this time period, and there's
Okay.
been a lot of trial and error, working with scales,
Yep.
working with other various settings. So it's rather impressive. I did try out 2.8 briefly, and the fact that I could just get a model to be the correct scale without doing anything, that was rather impressive. So seeing that the entire workflow is pretty straightforward, at least from what you've discovered during your experimentation and workflow, so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and so maybe it's that one thing for the sockets that I haven't tried morph targets, but like 90% of it from my workflow for what I need is good to go. And I don't add a ton of sockets to the stuff I'm doing. I'm mostly socketing on like the mannequin, and that's fine. And so like for, you know, indie solo game dev, Blender 100% covers the bases. We didn't look at like so much more that's specific to Blender, like sculpting and UV and all these other things that are great. But I think that probably represents a very large portion or percentage of what people do 3D. It's Unreal Engine, stock 2.8, Blender, stock Unreal Engine. It's like pretty much working.
Yeah, no, that's great. Are you ready for a couple of questions? We got quite some questions here.
I'll botch some answers. Let's do it.
Yeah, we got another maybe 15 to 20 minutes that we can do
Yeah,
questions for.
that was my thing. We dabbed.
Yeah. Sure, many did. Many did. Maybe you did. I haven't yet.
I want to see everyone making this exact same project. Should we add that to the default mannequin blueprint project?
We're always taking feature requests
I think that would be good.
towards the editor. All right, so early on we had a question about how to export materials from Blender. We covered that. So if you didn't catch that as part of the stream, go back a little.
That's for like material slots. That's how you would designate different material slots. If you mean like taking like the actual PBR material you've created and bringing it in perfectly, that's not going to work. It'll like approximate it, but you know, you want to build your materials in Unreal Engine for the most part, if that's what you mean. Like taking this material exactly back in, it's never gonna.
I did see there were some comments regarding just the fact that you could, you know, color it basically is what we did.
Oh yeah, if it's simple, but you know, Unreal Engine shaders can be.
Yeah.
You're not gonna make like a material function in here, you know. So you can have like a basic PBR transfer over, but you know, you typically want to make like a material master and instances. It won't do any of that for you, but you can have like the basic parameters come over for sure.
Any recommendations for tutorials on transitioning from older versions of Blender to the new version?
I think Flipped Normals, the YouTube channel, is pretty good.
Flipped Normals.
I think Andrew Price is his series. If you have the the ability to make it through the whole donut tutorial, and you just do it with the Blender style, the new 2.8 hotkeys. If you make it through that, you should have it pretty much like dialed at that point. I didn't use Blender before 2.8. I kind of swooped in. I was like, oh, left click moves the 3D cursor, and right click is select. I'm gonna head out basically. I was like, I'm not staying for this. But now that they have these options and it's this smooth, I'm all for it. But I didn't use Blender before 2.8.
See, question regarding animations. How do you export multiple animations you have in the timeline? For example, 0 to 30, then 40 to 100, then 100 to 150, and so forth. So you can export all your character animations in one file.
In one file? I'm not sure. And for my character animations, I'm using the Mannequin, or the Mr. Mannequin exporter. So I'm not exactly sure how to do that. I just kind of brute force it and just kind of like make a different file for every animation, which maybe doesn't work for someone who's doing like a lot of character animation. For me, I'm making like basically poses. I'll make like this and then like some aim offsets.
And then you're using the animation blueprint to interpolate between them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not doing a ton of like character animations where I'll have like all the walks in one file. I'm not sure exactly how that works. Pretty sure you can do it, but I don't do that much character animation.
For all discussions regarding Blender Unreal Engine, the announcement post on the forums is a good place where we can start some of these discussions and talk about it. Maybe someone knows.
Someone.
Couldn't you just make Dab in Unreal Engine directly?
I think there's tools for that now,
There
but
is.
this was a Blender.
It is
A Blender demo.
And the next follow-up question was: is it better to do the animation in Blender or Unreal Engine? And the answer there is that in Blender you can really author animations, at a high quality level. Whereas currently in Unreal Engine, you can do some basic poses, you can record it, right? But you're not really hitting that sweet spot. For someone who's an animator, they would currently not want to work, and author animations inside Unreal Engine. It's better to do it in a DCC tool.
Yeah, I mean, I build IK rigs in my game. I think I've seen things out there, but Blender is like you making your own mesh, your own skeleton from the ground up. It's just meant for that. Unreal is, like you're saying, it's more for like modifying. Like you might take a blueprint and like IK the hand so that it can be independent.
But you're not going to author the rig
the whole pipeline. Maybe for certain use cases, but in general, this is more the way to go, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I showed you how I used the Paragon characters and I just scaled down the legs to just get torsos for the in the motion capture stream.
If it
and
works.
so there are ways, right, that you can get your end result. But if you're looking at a pipeline for your game, you probably want to author them inside a DCC tool like Blender.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see. Did we talk about the UE4 rig inside Blender? Yes, we did earlier in the stream.
The mannequin?
I mean, not necessarily if we talked about the rig, but we did show how you can get the default Unreal Engine skeleton animated inside Blender and then move it over and actually see it inside Unreal.
Yes, and my recommendation is the Mr. Mannequin rig right here, like for sure. We don't have the time. I can show you the beginning of what importing the skeleton from Unreal into Blender looks like. It's about an hour to get it actually set up, and you have to know Blender pretty well, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it unless you are a character rigger and like I want to make my own rig. It can be done because Mr. Mannequin did it, but it's a lot of work. You have to really know what's going on there, and you have to know how to make control rigs that are nice to animate too. That's a whole different subject.
Is it possible to do camera animation export from Blender to Unreal Engine?
I know it's possible. I've never done it though. I've seen people do it. There's other add-ons. I didn't want to get too add-on heavy into Blender. So one of the great things about Blender is that it's open source, and so many developers are making cool plugins, and they're by and large free. Some of them are paid and usually worth it. There's a couple Unreal Engine ones. I think it's called like Blender for Unreal Engine or something like that. You can look it up, and their scripts will actually allow you to like select a camera even if it has a path, and it will correctly translate that back into an Unreal Engine one. But I haven't used it myself, but I've seen it demoed. Haven't tried it. Mostly this, like what we just did there, I do that every day. That's like, I do this like every single day, and I haven't done cameras. I just animate my cameras in Sequencer.
Which is another option.
I've seen it done. I've seen it done.
Okay. I'm working on a game these days, and I started working on VFX now. Do you recommend, is it possible to do this in Blender and export to Unreal, and what is the best approach?
For VFX?
Mm-hmm.
Is that like mostly like Niagara?
That would be my answer is to start getting familiar with Niagara.
Yeah.
It will soon be out of beta, and it will be production ready, which is a VFX tool that we have inside Unreal Engine.
Yeah, it's typically, I mean, from my understanding of VFX, it's mostly like you'd go into Photoshop and you'd make like flip books of animations, and then you have Niagara spawn them, and they do like different dispersions and bounces and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
or you can do meshes as well. And
Oh yeah, like I haven't done that yet, where you can like dissolve things, and so I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah.
the VFX could also mean like using the
the materials.
what's the destruction plugin called now? Chaos.
Chaos, the new
Yeah, 'cause
destruction system.
That
yeah.
stuff used to all be like solely the domain of a Houdini simulation that you'd bake out back to the engine, but now you just, I'm assuming like Voronoi fracture it in engine essentially, and then just turn it on. So
Yeah. And you can cache it and play it back using sequencer,
Yeah.
so you can have a really, really heavy simulation.
and it can be interactive, right? Like then the pieces are like
Yeah,
being
there are some ways that where you can actually sort of interact with the cached animation, if you may call it as well, of a destructible building. Or
yeah. That's not my specialty, but it seems like that's mostly a Niagaran chaos thing for me.
let's see, they're wondering if you'll come back to do a virtual production demo.
If you'll have me.
I will. This has been a pleasure.
Maybe.
so-
It's a strong maybe we have going
Yeah.
on.
We'll have to talk about that one.
That's pretty complicated to show in an hour, but it could probably be done.
Maybe we can stretch it, make it a two episode, maybe a double stream that week.
Might need a bigger stage
Bigger
for
set?
that. Yeah.
Maybe we do. Let's see. Can you get the models in a store or something, or do you have to make your own models?
Can you get the models in a store? Yes, the Unreal Engine Marketplace. Is that
There,
what-
that's the place to get them.
Yeah. My game currently is like 90% Marketplace. So I'm what they call an asset flipper. I'm proud of that. But one of the reasons I switched to Blender is because I'm actually in the point in my game where we're trying to leave prototype and get into like our final form, like a version 1, because we're early release. And so I'm actually in the process now of stripping out all my third-party Marketplace stuff, which was very helpful to get to this
Yeah.
point. But now I have specific parameters and poly counts and materials and UVing styles that I like. So I am going to be in Blender a whole lot, making all sorts of stuff, like chairs to the right size, and I'm going to be remaking all the doors and all the modular pieces. So Marketplace is really good for prototyping, and then for me at this point, I'm like, okay, I'll pull those out, and I'm going to be in Blender for the next year of my life.
And you can learn a lot from seeing how
Oh my-
someone
yeah.
else
Oh, yeah.
did it, right? I think
Yeah.
that's been for someone like me who's not really an artist, and I can't author anything high quality in terms of models or animations or textures. It teaches me how artists work
Oh yeah. Oh.
in the pipeline, and I can use them and make my game look a lot better than I'll be able to do myself.
Yeah, the only reason I know how to make like modular set pieces is because I think I've bought all of the all of the Marketplace modular kits and just like looked at them. They're in my game now, and I've just like looked at the way that they break up the meshes, how they do the materials is really interesting as well. You UV from modular much different than VFX UVing. It's all like for tiling textures and stuff. And so I've just mined all that stuff. I would just like, well, not mine, I bought it, use it, bring it back into what was then Maya, look at their UVing and be like, that's crazy, and then try to figure it out. So Marketplace, really high quality stuff. You could ship a game with it easily. But then also really good just to like reverse engineer and try
Yeah.
to learn it, which I've been doing for the last like year and a half.
There were a few questions regarding, do you ever use the Blender to Unreal Engine add-on? It was apparently created by Blue Raven.
I have it installed. I've played with it a little bit. It doesn't solve the issue. I wanted it to, because you can like select a skeletal mesh and be like export, and it will do that. But it didn't solve for me the socket issue that we were looking at, and so I stopped using it because like that's what I would have used it for my workflow. But I have it, and it does work. Yeah, but I can't 100% vouch for all the features. I haven't dug through it enough. But it looks like it's in the right direction for sure. I use a lot of add-ons for modeling. There's like you can just go into like your own Blender world eventually that doesn't have to do with Unreal Engine, but like hard ops, box cutter, edge loops, there's so many add-ons for this, and they're incredible. Like you really, like hard ops, box cutter, and sculpting in Blender, I don't think you can do that in any other program. Like you can almost do that type of hard surface stuff in ZBrush, but ZBrush you can never have like normal DCC control after. So like there's some really unique modeling workflows with add-ons in Blender, if you just keep digging deeper and deeper, that they don't exist anywhere else. I think that's why we see so many people coming to it now. And it's free. There's that too. It's
Yeah.
free, which is incredible.
And no royalties either.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's
It's also BlenderCon right now, so holler BlenderCon in Amsterdam.
Hope y'all are having a good time.
Might
I don't know
have-
why they'd be watching the stream right now. I wouldn't.
I bet you someone is. I'll have to go next year. Maybe next year.
Do shape keys translate from Blender to Unreal Engine?
I haven't tried it.
Okay.
I haven't tried it. Shape keys being like morph targets, blend shapes?
I believe so, yes. I think they're called, I think when you make them in Blender, they're actually called shape keys.
I haven't tested it because I don't do my own facial rigs or anything like that. I'm not doing it at that level. Not sure. I know the the standard. If we pull it up real quick. Where are you? Do I still have this? Yeah. So I don't have this stuff memorized. This is like the FBX static mesh pipeline. So if you want to know how to bring in LODs and UVs and light maps, we didn't do any of that stuff. That takes a long time to demo properly, the full how you UV and how you light map in Blender. It can be done. Just pull this document up. I write UE for FBX like every day. And it's like, this is how you do prefixes for different types of collisions and, some base practices for sockets and whatnot. And most of this works all the way through. I generate my LODs in Unreal Engine using their Insta LOD. I don't think that's what it's called. It's called something else, but I use their automatic LOD stuff. But this will walk you through it. This is clearly like a Maya viewport we're looking at. But like from my initial test, like 99% of this works in Blender as well. It's just naming conventions. So that stuff mostly works here.
Someone confirmed that shape keys do work, and I remember that, yes, I watched a tutorial. I did it for a ball or something.
Sure,
yeah, and they just turn into morph targets in Unreal Engine, and you can use the slider or
nice.
call it as a function in Blueprints as well.
Nice.
It's been a long time since I did that.
Yeah.
That was a while.
There's a lot of features to test. I just try to
Yeah.
show like the basics, There's a lot of like nuanced little things that we can get into, like constraint rigs and stuff, but less and less people use that high level stuff.
There were some more questions regarding sort of materials into Unreal Engine, and basically you author sort of the roughness values and your actual shaders in the material editor in Unreal Engine.
Oh yeah, it's much better.
Run in Blender.
Yeah, I mean, for performance reasons, for reuse, like you typically make a master material and all the materials are instances of that. And if you want to get into that workflow, and your textures you want to have in texture groups, and these are like just like best practices for Unreal Engine for performance and for just like general extensibility as you have a bigger and bigger project. If you don't set it up like that in the beginning, it's not so fun. I know, because that's the world I live in right now. So yeah, you don't really want your Blender textures anyway, or Blender materials.
Do you use Sequencer a lot?
I'm using it a little bit now. For like the academic version of the game I'm making, you actually play through a game and it like teaches you how to set up film lighting. Every time you complete a major step, it kind of like pulls out a sequence camera comes out and it's like, whoa, like here's what you just made. So I'm kind of using it like for like how it's like video game sequencing versus virtual production sequencer, which is a whole different animal to talk about.
So definitely seems to be some people in chat that are also familiar with the workflow. They commented and said, please tell people there's no need of the old 0.01 scale hack for working in centimeters in Blender.
If you're working in centimeters? So they say to switch that metric?
Yes, you can set centimeters as length unit in the length parameter below unit system.
I'll try it. I see that. I haven't tried that myself yet. I'll try it. But look how far we got by not even doing that. The only time it tripped was the sockets. So maybe if that will fix the sockets. I didn't address the axes difference, the front axes difference, because I'm still trying to figure out what's the best practice for that. So I didn't want to like confuse us, because I'm still confused. I didn't want to further confuse anybody.
Sounds like it's time for a little bit of an updated Blender to Unreal sort of doc. Maybe something the community can help us author.
Sure.
Definitely, and especially using a lot of references from the stream today, how to do that. That sounds like something that we should have, to make for everyone to not have to go through the sort of headaches of the differences and the little things that you've learned throughout your process of working with this. That was pretty much all the questions we'd be able to answer today. There was a comment, Matt, thanks for sharing your workflow. Would you like to return and do another stream with more focus on the animation processes you use? Really nice presentation.
Thank you, and pass. I'm very bad at animating. I mostly just make dabs and simple poses and aim offsets. I'm not much of like an actual animator. My animation happens mostly in the engine. I do a lot of like rotating and spinning things in blueprints. That's where most of it happens. Most of my stuff is very mechanical, so it's like parenting to sockets and stuff like that. Actual like animation, that's not me. I'm not very good. I don't even think I could do the bouncing ball correctly. So thank you, but no.
Yeah, if any of you know anyone in the community that are creating that kind of content, please go ahead and share that. So that would be a nice resource. Thank you so much for coming, Matt.
This has been lovely.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I'm really happy we were able to do this. We planned it for a couple of months, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Making sure all our schedules line up and everything that's going on, what you're working on. It's very exciting. As always, I end the stream with a little bit of a couple of tips regarding our community, etc. And so I'll move over to that. Mainly the most important thing that we got going for us, I think, is the transcripts that we do for every stream. They are originally created for captioning, so that the videos can be captioned. But what it allows us to do is that you can open up the transcript. We usually put the link in the YouTube description. You can Control F and search for keywords. And so we know the streams are long. You know, we've been going for an hour and 40 minutes right now. A lot of things have been said. A lot of things have been shown. It might be a little bit difficult. Say maybe you were only interested in the materials part of the stream. Now, if you go back now, me saying material right there will be captioned, will be put into the transcript, and you can go ahead and search for it, and the timestamp is right next to it. In YouTube, there's also an option, you might be familiar with it as well since you do stream there, where you can actually open up the option to see the transcript or the captions live. And if you just click each section, it will just take you back to that to that part of the timeline of the video, which is really nice. I use it myself to find, oh, I know we talked about that. Let me go and see, you know, where it happened during the stream. So that's really cool. Let us know what you think of the live stream today. We have a survey that I believe Amanda is. Oh, come on, man, this is awesome.
I said good or bad.
Oh, okay.
You just
I only looked over.
called the bad.
Yeah, I just see you
like,
doing
this
the
is terrible.
thumbs down. Yeah, let us know what you thought of today's stream. Everyone who participates in the survey and enters their email has a chance to win a T-shirt through our little sweepstake there.
Ooh.
If you are interested in visiting or meeting other developers that are using Unreal Engine, go ahead and go to unrealengine.com/user-groups. See if there is a meetup group in your area. If there is not, but you know some people in your town or your city, wherever you are in the world, and you might be interested in hosting one, go ahead and send an email to community@unrealengine.com, and we will talk you through what it means being a meetup group lead, and help you with resources that you might need for presentations or maybe finding guests and whatnot. Venues are always difficult. I know that myself from being an old meetup lead. Even here in Raleigh, it can be tricky to find a good place to host it. But any questions you have, please talk to us, and we will try to accommodate you and your group. Go ahead and visit our online communities, our forums. The community around Discord is probably the place that I visit most frequently.
I got a Discord? I didn't get on the Discord.
You don't know about Unreal Slackers?
Nah.
Unrealslackers.org.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Recently hit over 27,000 members, I believe. Our Facebook groups as well as Reddit. If you saw the beginning of the stream, we do our community spotlights. They are projects around the community, what people are working on. If you want to go ahead and let us know what you're working on, use the forums are a good place. Discord is a little bit more fleeting, so it's difficult to catch what happened like last week, last month.
It's that active, huh?
Yes, it certainly is.
I need to go there, okay.
Yeah, and we got channels for pretty much everything Unreal, which is great. That's where I've learned a lot. And I've had a lot of people help me to get through some serious problems in my projects throughout the day.
I gotta install Discord again.
Yeah, the forums are obviously a good place too, especially I'd say.
You can search those easier.
You can search Discord too, and you can put in filters for the yeah. So the search tool has actually gotten really good. But the forums are good if you're sort of writing a tutorial and you want it to be everlasting and you want to link to it. But if you have a quick problem or you just want to sort of discuss a workflow or a tool inside the engine, Discord's a great place. If you're streaming on Twitch, make sure you use the Unreal Engine category so that we can follow along. Everyone who's excited knows what you're working on. Follow us on social media, and today my special thanks of course goes out to Matt for coming on, and all of you for having everyone in chat for making it such a good time. It was a pleasure hanging out with you all today.
Good naming.
Next week we have a company called Praxinos. They are developing a tool which is called Iliad. It stands for Image Layering Architecture, something. I should probably remember that, although I prefer the shortened version of Iliad. It is basically a painting plugin in Unreal Engine that allows you to author textures. And very similar to how I done it in Blender, when you paint on the texture inside Unreal Engine, you can see it immediately appear on the UV texture on the model, which is really cool. And you can actually author the brushes using blueprints.
Is it runtime?
Yes. Sorry, no. So it's editor
Still
time. So it's
editor.
real time.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's an editor time.
I am not entirely sure if it packages out. I don't think so, but if you want to know, you'll find out next week when they come on.
There it is.
And I think with that, I think it's time to say goodbye because we've been on for an hour and 45 minutes now. So thank you so much again, Matt, for coming. Y'all have a great week, and we will see you again next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye, everyone.